What's up, hackers? Welcome to Saturday Hacker Day. My name is Taggart, and today we are gonna, as usual, cover the week's news, although a little bit different format today than usual. And of course, we're gonna jump back into the Homelab and do some work there. But let's get started first with this week in cyber. So, given what we have going on in the world, I think what we're gonna do first is talk a little bit about the situation in Ukraine, where things stand now, and what to expect in the next couple of days. Uh, but first, Oreo, thank you so much for the resub. Really appreciate that. Good to see everybody here. So let's talk about Ukraine, where things stand right now, and what we might be looking at in the next couple of days. Things seem to be coming to a bit of a tipping point. Most analysts that I'm taking a look at, and of course the United States State Department and other NATO forces, are saying that all signs point to Russian forces moving into Ukraine within days, perhaps this weekend. Now, this is, at the moment, we're talking about a physical invasion, right? But we do have a cyber aspect of this, which we'll talk about. Now, keep in mind that Russian strategy always relies on misinformation and disinformation. So, for example, last week we heard from Russia that they were withdrawing troops from the front, but it turns out that that actually wasn't true. We've seen no evidence of that. In fact, if anything, more forces are being deployed all along the Ukrainian border. And as a matter of fact, we also saw on Thursday, the 15th, a massive distributed denial of service attack against Ukrainian banks and government sites, bringing down the Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Internal Affairs, and the Armed Forces of Ukraine public websites on that day. Now, Russia has denied responsibility for that, but of course they did. But it does seem like a massive distributed denial of service attack was leveraged at Ukrainian networks on the 15th. So where are we standing right now in terms of what's where? So this map is, thank you to CNN. Exactly, Tris, using all that sweet, sweet natural gas to gaslight. So I know it's a little bit small, but let's see what we can do with it. So, of course, the center, you're seeing the country of Ukraine, and what you're looking at, the square icons are the forces that are permanent along the Ukrainian border with Russia and Belarus. Of course, you also have Romania on the border on the southwest, and in the south, you have the Black Sea, which matters quite a bit, which you'll see for reasons we'll discuss in a second. Every diamond icon that you see there is a new unit that has been in place since March of 2021. So this buildup has been happening for some time. I'll also mention that in the last day, we've had a couple of big things go on. So military drills, including nuclear drills, they're not actually using, they don't claim that they're using nuclear arsenals, but nuclear style drills to be used with nuclear weapons are taking place in coordination with Belarusian forces right now. And at the same time, the largest movement of naval vessels from the Black Sea Fleet in the south here, from Sevastopol, has sailed since the end of the Cold War. So the massive movements that are maybe, this is not stuff that you necessarily find on the news. It is taking place, though. You just have to look deeper than the CNN front page. This is all pointing to, under the guise of drills, a buildup of forces to put pressure on Ukraine and to signal to NATO forces that Russia's not messing around. Now, again, this is the kinetic side of things. This is the physical side of things. And we're here to talk a little bit about the side of the cyber aspect of this. But the two are related. Because remember that for Russia, cyber attacks have two primary objectives. One of them is an infrastructural type disablement. So, for example, actually, we saw this happen recently in Ukraine, where the train system was taken down with a cyber attack. That kind of thing is actually really of value, and in fact may take place within Ukraine by Ukrainian forces to prevent the use of rail systems by Russian forces to bring resources in past the border. So cyber attacks have that kind of infrastructural aim, but they also have another important objective, which is psychological warfare, right? When you, as a citizen of a place that is under siege like Ukraine, all of a sudden your information infrastructure starts failing. That can be very scary. And of course, then the government can't tell you where to go in the event of an evacuation, can't reassure the population and produce calm. So if the internet goes down, or even if telecommunications goes down, then you're going to have that kind of an effect. So those are the sort of two prongs of intended effect for cyber attacks in the case of, well, not just Russian strategy, but certainly in this case Russian strategy. Now, don't forget that Russia's objective is twofold. It's political and economic. Hey, FDSSec. So economically, Russia's in real trouble. Inflation is a huge problem. Unemployment is a huge problem. As a matter of fact, Vladimir Putin's approval, even in a state as authoritarian as Russia, is declining significantly. And so in order to sort of fix all of those problems and reunite the population around a common enemy, we have Ukraine. Unfortunately, by all accounts, the Russian population is not buying it. Nevertheless, that's not stopping the government from taking this tack. The other objective is economic. The two are, of course, interrelated, but economic objectives are present as well. Keep in mind that Ukraine is this important bridge between Russia, Western Asia, and of course Europe. And if NATO forces are placed in there, that is considered a threat to by Russia. And keep in mind that pipelines going through Ukraine are transporting natural gas to Europe through Russia. Why does that matter? Well, Russia needs Europe as a customer for its natural gas, but that also cuts the other way. Europe needs the natural gas from Russia. Right now, if you're in Europe, you know that gas prices are absolutely astronomical, and this is part of the reason why. And it's only going to get worse if conflict escalates. One of the key areas of conflict here is this new pipeline that hasn't been constructed yet called Nord Stream 2, which is supposed to cut through part of this area and bring natural gas from Russia into Europe. Now, Germany is the controlling state of the Nord Stream 2 project, and they have suggested that in addition to economic sanctions, which NATO forces might put in place on Russia in the event of Ukrainian invasion, Nord Stream 2 as a project might be shut down. That kind of a move would necessarily trigger a heightened response from Russia because their economic future depends on that pipeline. All right, so all of this is kind of like, grand strategy, geopolitics, and honestly, I'm just an interested observer, but I don't have like a PhD in international studies or anything else like that. I'm just trying to report what I'm seeing here. So how does this impact us, cybersecurity professionals? And I have to speak specifically from the position of a U.S. citizen, and also maybe a little bit more broadly, a citizen in a NATO country. So I would say that it is unlikely that Russia is going to launch a large-scale cyber attack against the United States, because they are taking the tack that they are innocent. In fact, they just put out some communication today saying that they've never perpetrated a cyber attack against foreign forces. That's obviously ridiculous, but it's unlikely that they're going to be that brazen at first, at least. That being said, what we have seen coming into this have been a number of false flag operations. If you work in cybersecurity on the defending side, you know that you'll see a lot of attacks from Ukraine, and we have reason to believe that a lot of the from Ukraine cyber attacks, or even recon kind of operations, are likely not Ukrainian in origin, but they are being routed through Ukrainian IPs to make it look as though it's from Ukraine. Lots of good comments in the chat. FDSX says, true, the gas price is increasing all the time. So trying to work out why gas prices in Scotland are going up so much when we produce it. 54% soon. Yep. GoPro, good to see you. Just a guy says, I think there'll be no war. They're already evacuating the citizens from that area, and Russia will just march in and claim the land. I don't agree with that at all. If you look at what's going on with the Ukrainian population, a lot of people don't want to leave. And you're looking at things like grandmothers who are learning how to fire their AK-47s. I think that the Ukrainian population is willing to fight for their land. And I think that history is going to has some precedent for that as well. This does, I will say, this hits a little bit home for me, only because the current location of the American embassy, which has been moved from Kiev here in sort of the center north of the country, has been moved to the city of Lviv. Now, Lviv kind of has a bit of an interesting history in that it has a bunch of different names. It was called Lvov in Polish when the Polish border extended across it. It was called Lemberg when the Germans invaded Poland. And of course, it's called Lviv here. It also has a different name in, well, it's certainly written different in Cyrillic. What's interesting about this city, other than it's a massive cultural center, is that it has changed hands so many times. And as a matter of fact, part of my family is from there. But of course, I didn't get to meet many of them because the Germans invaded, and the Jewish side of my family did not survive that part of the war. So I think you have to look at this in some historical context. One thing that kind of spooks me about this whole thing is that this larger region has been the powder keg for quite a bit of European conflict, and I'm a little concerned that we're seeing history repeat itself here. But from the cyber side of things, in addition to false flag operations, if we are all distracted by what's going on in Ukraine, I think we also have to be aware that other parties may start to take advantage of that noise and use that opportunity to conduct their own operations at that time. So something to keep in mind as well. And as a matter of fact, that may even be true for Russian intelligence services that have other goals. So just a guy says that the entire eastern part of Ukraine is pro-Russian. Lots of people want to belong to Russia. I think that some of that is true. Obviously, there are Russian-backed separatist-controlled areas, as you see marked on the map. That is true. But it is also true that if you are looking at reporting from Russia about how much of that is separatist-controlled, you can't take that at face value. So yeah, I think there's definitely some split there, but Ukraine is certainly more than its eastern border. Now, I will also mention that if and when NATO forces respond to any incursion, NATO countries absolutely should expect a heightened cyber offensive operation from Russia. I think that's just a normal thing to expect. And even if they would deny that it's taking place, that doesn't change the fact that it would, in fact, impact NATO countries. To give you an idea of the kinds of things that we might take a look at, there's a really great article in Lawfare right now, which I will put in chat. Titled What to Expect with Cyber Surprise. And there are a couple of really interesting kind of what would modern cyber warfare look like from Russia's point of view. So a couple of questions that are asked here are, what if Ukraine's weapons don't work? So, for example, if any network-connected military assets are compromised. What would that look like? Given the Russian penchant for misinformation and disinformation, would the slightly new technology of deepfakes play a role in what we have going on? And then what if an asymmetric attack was to take place, for example, rather than attacking countries directly, attacking supply chain? What if shipping companies all of a sudden became a target? Lots of kind of scary scenarios here to think about. But I think the big takeaway, other than we have to keep our head on a swivel as defenders right now, is that this is a pretty awful situation. And my thoughts remain with the Ukrainian people, for whom I would say most of them believe in their sovereignty and should keep it. And I hope that they're able to do so without the escalation to conflict yet again in that part of Europe. All right. With that news section out of the way, we're going to jump back into our Homelab. And what we're going to do today, I have given Packer the office. I am not focusing on Packer as a part of the build pipeline for VMs anymore because it's just too fragile. It's just too fragile. There are too many things that can go wrong with it. There are too many ways in which it doesn't really work as intended. And so rather than invest all of my time trying to get it to work, honestly, just doing the base VM build is faster than trying to get Packer to work that way. So that is how I'm going to spend my time, and then use Ansible after the VM is set up at its base to do the post-provisioning configuration. So today's objective, we're going to try to bring online a couple of systems. We are going to bring online the primary SOC, which is going to be based, hopefully, on Security Onion. And we're also going to try to bring online some of our Windows assets. So let's jump into it. And let's get some music going. All right. So I've just built out the Onion VM, as you can see here. And let me hit reboot now. We'll get this rebooted. So today's goal, Firebrand, is to get the Security Onion SOC up and running. So have Elk up and running, and we'll try to get Wazuh running as well. And so the way that we're going to do the network architecture, the way that longtime viewers know that I've had a mixed history with Security Onion. But what I'm going to try to do, there we go. That should allow us to reboot. The reason I've had such trouble with Security Onion in the past is because I was trying to do a network build out that didn't really play with some of the assumptions that Security Onion makes about how your network should be designed. So today I'm going to change that a little bit and play a little bit more by their rules. Basically, we're going to have two interfaces for Security Onion. One of them is called the management interface, and that's going to be a straight up internet connected web network interface. It's got an IP address. It doesn't do anything special, and that's how we're going to access Security Onion. And then we're going to have the management interface. Now the trick with the management we're going to have the capture interface. The capture interface is going to be configured to capture packets from the lab network. Now, the way that we have the network build out, we have two separate logical networks in the lab. One of them is internet connected and one of them is not. And so SecLab is going to be, the Onion machine is going to be dual homed. It's going to have an interface on the internet connected side and one on the not internet connected side. And so the difference between that and what I was doing in the past was, in the past I would have a third interface that was just straight out to the internet directly. I'm trying to make it easier for me to look at Security Onion data and communicate with other wider networks. I'm done trying to do that. So instead, we're going to do exactly what Security Onion expects. Now, I'll also say that I've never had success with Security Onion's own ISO. So as you can see here, I've got an Ubuntu 2004 machine. I'm not really doing anything special here. What I want to do with this is actually, you can configure an Ubuntu machine to use Security Onion. You just got to download the Git repository and kick off the installer, and it will convert that Ubuntu machine into a Security Onion installation. That's what we're going to try. So to get that started, I'm going to just log in real quick here, get the IP address because it's DHCP assigned, and then we're going to fix that. Okay, So my primary address is 192.168.99.115, but I need a second network interface, as I said. So we're going to go over to hardware. By the way, I'm using Proxmox. We're going to add a network device, and we're going to add it to our isolation network. Ogosoro, great question. I'm giving Security Onion 8 gigs, and this is the kicker, is the system requirements are like, you have to have 6 cores. So I'm giving it 6 cores out of my 20, so it's a massive investment to have this thing running. But I've had success with 8 gigs of RAM, so I should be okay there. But yeah, it's the 6 processor cores that's kind of ridiculous if you look at the Security Onion system requirements. And I think it's a 300 gig machine. GoPro's got a tweet for us here. The first casualty of a cyber war is editorial standards of, is this really newsworthy? That's absolutely true. And, you know, I have to remind myself that I am not a journalist. I'm just trying to see what's going on globally and how it relates to, you know, our profession. And that is not, you know, I'm certainly open to the, I'm going to make mistakes sometimes, and I may not understand what's relevant, but, you know, I've been interested in international affairs and geopolitics for a long, long time. I've done my best to inform myself about everything. And one thing that I try to do is share knowledge, right? So that's kind of why I do the news segment as well. Last night during the Backdoors and Breaches game, something kind of cool happened. We used one of our game scenarios to play out some kind of scary stuff that might have happened with Nord Stream 2. And somebody said, you know, I don't really watch the news, but it was cool seeing how this was what is happening in the world was getting contextualized inside of our cybersecurity realm. So I do think there's some value there. Thanks, GoPro. No, I didn't take it as commentary on my news section, but it's something I think about myself as well. Like, am I being responsible with the stuff that I'm talking about? Oh, I was glad that you were there too, Sin. All right, how we doing here? Right, so we should now have 2 interfaces. So we're going to set these statically in both cases. Now, I am maintaining it's not super special, but it works, an inventory of what's going on in the lab. And so, as you can see, I have 2 new entries here for the SecLab Onion. I'm going to have one of these set at 192.168.99.3 and one of them set at 10.1.99.4. So these are our internet connected and isolated networks. So what we're going to do first is we're going to quickly just sudo vim etc netplan, and we're going to mess with the default network configuration here. So we'll change the DHCP to false. We're going to set the addresses. That's too many D's and addresses. To 192.168.99.3/24, and then we'll give it the gateway 4 of 192.168.99.1, and name servers. I think we're going to do search, actually, like this. So we'll do 8888 and 8844. Just make it nice and easy. Oh, thanks, GoPro. I'm so glad that everyone had fun last night. And actually, we had a guest incident master last night with Husky, who ran our first game, and it was fantastic. All right, so that's it for ENS 118. I'm trying to like see if that's aligned. ENS. So for 119, the same thing. We're going to do DHCP4 is false. And we're going to do addresses, same deal. Uh, 192.16. Oh, nope, wrong. This is going to 10.1.99.3/24. And then we do the gateway 4 again, although... Actually, I think we could do away with the gateway 4 because there's no gateway, honestly. But we do want name servers. And in this case, we have to actually change this up a little bit. So we're going to do... Let me, hold on a second. Net plan example. I always get this wrong, so I want to make sure that I get it right. Doing this stuff from memory. Okay, good. Name servers. Search addresses. Okay, but they're not interesting. They're not list items for the name server, so I gotta go fix that. The net man with the net plan. Hi, Husky. Oh, wait, do I need to use the proper... Yeah, I need to use my actual JK keys here. And... So search, and we're creating a domain here for 0day.local. So we're going to set this up to search for 0day.local. And addresses... 10.1.99. Hold up. I think I got the address wrong. Yeah, that should be 4 because our domain controller, which needs to be on here, 10.1.99.4 is ZDDC01, and that is in isolation. That's our domain controller. And that counts as a Windows machine. If you're curious how I'm doing the drop downs for the host set and things like that, basically what I do is I take a field, right? And then I go to data and data validation in Google Sheets, and I give it a list of things to pick from and give it a drop down. You can do that in Excel too. It's a really, really handy feature if you need to like normalize your data in a quick way. So I've just taken that whole column minus my header and given it all drop downs so that I can quickly select from those. That's not the super exciting part of this, but it is important to maintain an asset inventory, and this is how you want to do it. So I've got my networks here. I've set that up. I've got accounts, anything that I'm using across the board for management, and host sets, which comes into play for Ansible, and then my hosts. All right. So 10.1.99.3 is my domain controller, but this machine is going to be 10.1.99.4. I think we're good, although I'm now seeing that's like I'm off by a space. Yep. So I'm just gonna remove a space from everything here. Okay, that looks better. Sudo netplan apply. Uh-oh. Oh, wait, is it DHCP4? Yeah, it's DHCP 4, not DHCP. I've made my peace, I think. This is driving me crazy. Okay, I'm at 115. I'm just going to connect to this over SSH because I can't with this anymore. SSH seclab at 192.168.99.115. Fantastic. Yeah, that was too much. Oh, I don't need it to be that big. But I do need it to be big enough for you all to see. All right, so now let's do vim etc netplan. Good. All right. So that one does say DCP4. Okay, sudo netplan apply, which is going to break this connection. Which is why we have the KVM. But look at that. We have connection. Let's make sure that we can see stuff. So, okay, I can hit the domain controller. And that's pretty much what I have on the network, on the isolated network right now. So I think we're good. Yeah. Okay, so at this point, it's time to save our game, right? So we've got the network configuration, and we're ready to rock. So before we install Security Onion, we're going to call it pre-onion here for our snapshot. Call it shallot. I like it. Turned on protection against thin pools running out of space. Set activation thin pool. Trigger automatic full. I think we should be okay. All right, whatever. It's locked at the moment. All right, while it's doing that, let's take a look at where we are right now on the machine. The hypervisor, see how we're doing generally. With 5 machines up and running. Storage space looks... Oh, wait, no, that's not that. Let's look at... That's what you want to see. Okay, storage space looks good, and our resource usage looks okay. I have 40 CPUs? That's news to me. I thought I had 20. Okay. RAM looks good. I can live with that. Yeah, hyperthreads. Wraith Ward, am I planning to do attack and defend type of stuff once this is built? Yes, that is exactly the plan. The plan here is... Oh, good. Onion's back. The plan is to no longer rely solely on try hack me, hack the box type stuff. We want to be able to create our own scenarios in our own lab and do things the way that we want them to do, and not have to worry about time limits, not have to worry about, under-resourced Windows machines, things like that. That's what the plan is, and just to learn how to do this as well. There's also kind of a longer-term plan. So I am technically a blue teamer, although I think I might be the most red blue teamer you've ever met at this point. And what I want to do is invite people like Husky or GoPro or Al to come in and actually gain access to the lab, and then have them conduct attacks while the defense, we handle the defense side as well, and we look at what an attack looks like from both sides at the same time. I'm really excited about this plan, and so really looking forward to getting this thing up and running. All right, so time to begin with our security onion build out here. Let's close this tab because it obviously just died. We've done this through VMware. Yeah, so why am I not using VMware? One reason is because I don't feel like paying for the license to get API capabilities. And the other reason is that a kind of core tenet of the way that I do stuff here is to always use open source software whenever possible, so that the financial barrier to entry to what we're doing here is as low as possible. I'm a big believer in open source, and I want to make sure that what we do is maximally accessible. Yeah, Sin. Listen, I started that way as well, right? I was running Hyper-V, actually still am running Hyper-V locally on this machine for some things, but it became obvious that I was going to need a dedicated environment for what I was trying to do here. And yeah, it's an outlay of cash, but it I think was worth it, and so far has been, not too bank breaking. Kafka, good to see you. Although, just a heads up, there probably are not just boys here. What's Security Onion, other than the bane of my existence? Security Onion is an all-in-one sort of sock in a box. So what it does is it wraps a lot of combined tools together. So you've got the Elk stack, you have Wazuh, you have OS Query and Fleet, and also you have packet capture with Zeek, and all of also I think I was going to say not the Hive anymore, and this is actually one thing I'm interested to do with Security Onion. This is one of the reasons why I decided to go back and try it, is that Security Onion 2, which is kind of brand new, has its own case management tool now. So you can raise alerts from, Elk or whatever, send it over to the Security Onion case management and work it there, rather than relying on the Hive, which seems to have gone a little bit out of maintenance. So Sin has a really good question. They asked me, what was more secure, open source or closed source? What's more secure, open source or closed source? That question is a bad question, because it's project to project. You cannot make a blanket statement about what flavor of development is more secure. Depending on the project, you're going to have more or fewer eyes on it. You're going to have different kinds of, security practices in the software development lifecycle. It has nothing to do really with open source or closed source. That being said, open source, I think, both benefits and suffers from the fact that it is open and free to use. For example, you can have vulnerabilities that go for a long, long time without being discovered. Things like Heartbleed, or just pick your log4j. But that they were discovered at all has also something to do with the fact that it is open source. So it's both true that open source means, I don't think that the many eyes is a theory is as effective as we would like to believe it to be. That being said, the many eyes theory does eventually bear out. So a more focused and compensated software development lifecycle might find vulnerabilities faster, but that they're found at all is a consequence of the fact that people are looking at the open code. Now, closed source code can have vulnerabilities in it without anyone knowing about it for a long, long time. So I would also say that, another part of the risk reward for closed source software is trust. So for example, can anyone think of a situation not that long ago where we had closed source code and we couldn't know whether there was a security compromise in it or not until the side effects of that compromise were observed? No, nothing. SolarWinds, absolutely. That development chain. Oh, we could also say CodeCov. There were a couple of other cool ones. Actually, even PHP, right? We didn't know that code was compromised. Actually, they didn't know the code was compromised until it was too late, right? And had that just as a for example, had that build pipeline, had that source code been on GitHub, it's entirely possible. Not saying for sure, but it's entirely possible somebody would have seen that take place and be like, what is this? Oh, and actually, let's not forget what preceded the SolarWinds attack, which was the FireEye compromise of the open source tools. Or sorry, not open source tools, the offensive tools. FireEye's red team tools were breached, right? They were leaked, and that was the investigation that led to finding the SolarWinds compromise in the first place. But it's just like, that was a big loss for FireEye, but like, what if they had been open source in the first place? Maybe that wouldn't have been a breach. Husky has an idea for another project. All right, so Security Onion, we need to get this thing downloaded and running. Here's how this goes. To get it started, we're going to download the Git repository and then run the installation that way. Yeah, I've never been successful using the Security Onion ISO. Never. Here we go. This is what I want to do. I want to git clone this machine. So we're going to SSH seclab at 110.1.99.4. Oh, I don't have an IP on that. So at 192.168.99.3. Yes. Okay. So we're going to git clone. How did I get git clone wrong? Oh, I doubled it. All right. Now this takes a minute to run, so we're going to kind of do two things at once here. We're going to do sudo so, what is it? Setup network. Yeah, here we go. Yes, I would like to continue. We're going to set this up for standalone, so it's the whole smash, all in one machine. That's really not how you'd want to not how you'd want to deploy it in real life. You would want to have sensors strategically placed throughout your network to report data back to a single source of truth, just like Splunk. Kafka, so it's a distribution for security monitoring. Yes, it runs on the cloud. It can. This is running in our tiny little baby cloud. You can run it in any virtualized environment you wish, or run it on bare metal if you want. We have to agree to the Elastic license. Are you kidding me? Yeah, we're going to do it anyway. Since this is a network install, we assume the management interface DNS hostname are already set up. Yes. Okay, we're not using DHCP. We have to select our management interface. So, ENS18, if you remember, that was our 192.168.99 address, and that's where I'm accessing everything here through my jump box, and that's exactly what we're going to do for our management NIC. Good, good, good. Okay, we're going to do direct connection to the interwebs. $12 gigs of RAM, good lord. All right, this part's going to take a minute, so let's move on to some other work. Let's talk about our domain controller and how we did that. So I had some success with that actually off stream. And as I said, we're not using Packer anymore because it wasted too much of my time and I'm done. I'm done. It is way more sensible for me to just do the manual initial provisioning of the VMs for the scale that I'm talking about here. And I'll set up templates even if I need to, and I can use Terraform later if I want to go crazy. But Packer was not doing it for me. So rather than that, I'm going to focus my attention on developing the playbooks in the SecLab playbooks repo, which is open. Yeah, there it is. So what we're doing with the SecLab playbooks is we're putting together, kind of the initial playbooks that you would use to build out a lab like this. And we're also going to create scenarios that we can set up. So for example, if we wanted to set up Print Nightmare, or if we wanted to set up a Kerber roasting demo, or if we wanted to set up anti-LME, like whatever we want to do, we're going to set up playbooks that apply the correct configurations to our lab to do so, and then once we're done, we can roll it back to a different state. But that's the basic plan. So, and I'll do some cleanup on this organization because I'm really just getting started with this. But so one of the cool things you can do with Ansible is set up a domain controller, and we did that. So here's how domain controller works. If we look at our domain controller, there's a role here, and let's go to tasks. This is what setting up a domain controller in Ansible looks like. All right, you know what? I'm working in this jump box enough that I gotta set up the Dracula theme. Oh, I did. I installed it. I just didn't set it. There we go. So, this is what setting up a DC looks like in Ansible. We have different tasks. I'm using the Ansible Windows module from Ansible Galaxy, and I'm configuring the Ethernet instance that I want to have a DNS server. I'm turning off the firewall to make a lot of this happen. I'm changing the host name, and then we do the reboot. We install Active Directory using the Win feature capability. This is kind of cool. And I'm going to use this also to try to set up a few other things. But Win feature allows me to add AD domain services straight away, add the management tools, the sub features, right, and guarantee that the state is present. Awesome. After that's done, we create the domain, and that's pulled in from our variables. Sorry, wrong variables. It's actually defaults. Our domain name is 0day.local. And here's all the other stuff that we're going to use for our setup. I'm using hard-coded passwords for now. Change these in your setup. I don't really care that you see this at the moment. I'm just trying to get this started. They're not the passwords I actually use. So, and then we create the reverse DNS zone. And then this is the next part. This part isn't working just yet, so I've created my own. Actually, let me nuke that. But what I do have is a domain users playbook, which works great. And so the way that the domain users works is, at the moment, it's just users. I have yet to build out like domain admin groups or whatever else like that. That's kind of the next stage. But what I have with domain users is I have the community. And notice that it's not Ansible, it's the community Windows group, which has a win domain user task. And the domain user is going to take the first name, last name, username, and password that I give to it, and notice that it's looping over the users. So easy days, right? All I need to do is set up whatever users I want. Here, give it a first name, last name, username, password in this format. It's just simple YAML, and then I'm set. I have successfully run this. So if we actually look at the DC, I've got the DC up here in... I'm like 2 remote desktops deep. I'm remoted into my jump box, and then my jump box is remoting into my domain controller. But if we look at Active Directory, of course you don't have that indexed, you loser. There it is, though. We'll pin that to the taskbar. So if we look at our users for 0day.local, which, by the way, exists, we look at our users. Hey, Jay Hackme and Jay Ponerson exist. Now, I've added Adam Minerva because I think it's cute, because AD min, like, get it, admin. That's going to be our first DA. So we can rerun this playbook and see what happens. I actually want to see if I can create a, like, add a user to a group as well, which would be kind of neat. So how we doing, SecLab? Oh, wow, that was fast. Please add Nix to the monitor interface. Yep. Correct. Sin, reverse DNS. How does that function within the context of the lab environment? So the reverse DNS zone has to work in order for me to be able to search 0day.local for things. That's basically going to work. It's only going to work within that isolated network, but within that isolated network, the domain controller serves as the DNS server for things in it. And frankly, it's also how machines are going to, the Windows machines especially, are going to talk to each other. So if you want to run DNS, you have to set up the reverse DNS zone, even though it's not going out to anywhere. It's just for the stuff within the domain. Let me know if that didn't make sense. I can try again. Yeah, Husky, you and I are going to make a bunch of these. Sorry to dragoon you like that, but yes, we're going to make a bunch of these. So even if you didn't know that you set up your AD like that, Sin, it happened in the background. When you set up a domain controller, you have to have DNS, and to have DNS, you have to have a reverse zone. Even if it doesn't say you do, you have a reverse zone set up. It's the most horrible part of setting up a bind server if you do it in Linux, because I hate that syntax. So Kafka, how does that YAML file work? You've never set up an ADNV. So this is using Ansible. So I'm using a configuration management tool. that is different, independent from Windows, to apply configuration to my machines. And so the way that Ansible works is that I run playbooks over SSH to apply configuration to the machines that I'm targeting. So notice that I've got this host's domain controllers. That is defined in my Ansible inventory of the machines that I want to target with this thing. And I have others that I would use similarly. So this isn't like a Windows feature. I'm not using Config Manager or Intune. I guess the Intune is just for MDM, but I'm not using any of those tools to do this. I'm doing Ansible. One cool thing that I'm doing is I'm using Ansible over SSH, yes, even for the Windows machines, because you can do that now. You can get an SSH server running on Windows machines of all modern flavors. So why bother with the nightmare of setting up WinRM and frankly opening it up for attackers, unless we want to, and then we'll do it. But why would you do that when you can just have SSH as your communication layer across the board? So that's what we're going for. Yeah, the reason, as Husky was saying, it's nuts. The reason why WinRM sucks with Ansible is that Ansible requires that you use WinRM over HTTPS. And consequently, that means you're going to do a lot of self-signed certs and things like that. So don't bother with it, just do SSH. Okay, so that's the plan. So I want to see. Yeah, Ansible will run the play. Well, let me see if I can find like Ansible domain group and see if we can find like a way to do this. Yes, so good. Creates, modifies, or removes. So we can create groups. And then add group and specify the AD domain services. So I think we can add domain username. Can I do like group membership is what I'm looking for, really. Yeah, there's a domain controller module. Yeah, I don't want local groups, I want domain groups. And so create group with the delete protection, create the OAV group with the SID, add group and specify AD domain services to use for the create. But I want to know domain membership. Oh, actually, maybe here, this is how we do it. So we would do domain group, we create it, and then we add it. Because we're in domain user, right? So domain username, groups. Add or remove the user from this list of groups depending on... Yeah. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to create a new group. Or actually, all we have to do is... Oh, this is perfect. So if I wanted to add... ENS unmanagement, please remove it from other network management tools that rerun setup. Oh, fine. Sudo vim etc netplan. I have to actually remove the ENS 119 because I can't have it managed by netplan. Sudo netplan apply. Okay. Yeah, Husky, I'm excited. That's right. We're going to set up Red Team Infra in the cloud like an actual engagement. And also, as I was saying, I think the thing I'm most excited about is the possibility of having, like, essentially doing a purple team engagement in real time. Okay, direct. Looks good. Oh, security onion. You're such a pain. Do a session on do red team ops correctly and do proper redirection traffic encryption. Very cool. If it sounds like this is stuff that you're not getting anywhere else, I'm just going to say, like, it is. I don't usually, you know, go chest out about stuff like this, but I think that what we're creating here on this channel is some of the kind of most detailed, most high quality information security content you can find anywhere on the web. Yes, there's a lot of beginner information. We're starting to move beyond some of the beginner stuff that we're talking about here. I don't want to go so far that it's inaccessible. We'll still do a lot of beginner stuff as well. But we're adding capabilities in here and allowing you to go further. And I'll just say this. Well, all for free, yes. So if you like what you're seeing, consider a subscription. It does take time to put this content together. And running the machine here, running the server does cost some money. It's, yeah, it's please remove from other network management tools than Reno Setter. I thought I did. All right, let's reboot the machine. Just in case it's freaking out about that. All right, meanwhile, we've got Ansible going. So we're going to change up Adam and Nerva. So this is cool because if we look at our groups, right, domain admins is the name of the group. So what we want to do is we want to add Adam groups. Domain admins. Can it really be that easy? And in fact, let's also try to create some groups too. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy this up a little bit. And here we're going to put in create domain groups. We're going to create groups first, right? And then let's see what that looks like. Ansible group name. Exists using group cow exists using same account name. Path equals groups GC. So we need path, right? Probably. The name is required. The path isn't required? That's insane. Okay, if we wanted to get cute, I think we would have to put organizational unit down. So, but for now, we're going to do win domain group. Win domain group. And name is going to be... And we're going to do this like this. We're going to make a bunch of groups. Well, one for now, but so that we can iterate through as many groups as we want to make. Groups. And then each one is going to have a name. And we'll call it IT staff. Right? And... then, so in our create group, it's going to be name item.name. And here, we're just going to do state is present. Right? That's how we do that. State. Yep. Present. tool, and then we're going to loop over groups is how we do that. This syntax takes a little bit of time to get used to, but I'll tell you what, I'll take this YAML syntax over whatever nonsense Chef and Puppet do any day of the week. I really do not like those tools. All right. So to make this happen, here's how I kind of have this working. See Homelab playbooks. Git status. Let me zoom that in for you there. Git commit, git add rules. Oh, I don't have any of my cool stuff I've set up here, so git add domain users, git commit, and add groups. Push, up you go. And then we're gonna connect to our Ansible server. Sage seclab at 192.168.99.2. Yes. And you can see I've got the playbooks there, and I'm just going to do a git pull, get that down. Got the latest stuff. All right. So then to run this, oh, I should say sudo vim etsy ansible and then hosts. This is what my inventory looks like. So you can see here that I've got a web server. I don't have that up and running anymore. I've got to change that up. You can even your old self-propagating ransomware binary and unleash it. Yes, you can. Do it in Rust. So you can see I've got domain controllers and Windows hosts, and I've got the 99.3 added to both of them. And then notice here that for my Windows hosts, I have special variables that I'm using to make the connection happen. So rather than having to set that in each individual playbook, I'm setting it here so all of my Windows hosts are going to get this configuration. And even, this is kind of cool, even if I target domain controllers with a playbook, like I do with the domain users, because that asset is also in the Windows host group, it's going to get these variables assigned to it. So I don't have to duplicate my work there. So let's try Ansible playbook, domain users, and that's kind of it. Oh, what did I do wrong? Windows domain group. What did I do wrong there? What? Oh, it's the indentation's wrong. One thing I don't love about YAML is white space sensitivity. Yeah. What? Nope, wrong thing. All right, one more time. What now? Still? Does it want it out here? Yeah, I think it wants it out here. Okay. This is the part of the process where my commit messages start to show the descent into madness. Are you kidding me? Oh, I see. Well, that's asinine. Okay. Well, at least it's running. So we're creating domain users, gathering facts, so it's trying to connect to the thing. How we doing? Security onion. Oh, yeah. Invalid data passed to loop. It requires a list. Got this instead. All ungrouped web servers, domain controllers. Interesting. Loop through groups. Let's look at that error message again. Invalid data passed to loop. It requires a list. Got this instead. So we were doing create domain groups and then got... If you passed a list dict of just one element... Oh. That's so funny. If I do one element, it's not going to work. Fine. We'll make 2 groups. Okay, now I'm into it. WX Rob. Is anyone else annoyed by YAML when the creator asks for .yaml? Yeah. I don't know what to make of that. Rick Koch, thank you so much for the follow. I know that's 19 minutes late, but... All right, counting. Who has good group names for me? Yeah, most don't go pro, but some do. If your tool does fix it. HR, thank you. Devs is a good one. Yeah, good call, Husky. Okay. So for leverage to count those devs are. Yep. There's gonna be a lot of local admins in these here. Now, all right. I want to see how OP this is. Ansible, Windows. If we can do GPOs. No. That can't be right. This is Win security policy, but this is local security policy, right? Yeah, this is local security policy. I don't want that. I want... Unfortunate. I may have to do these manually, but that's okay. I'll do one more search. Let's see. Ansible. Windows. Let's create group policy. Create a group policy with Ansible. What you got for me, NT Weekly? Thank you so much for taking up 50% of the screen space with your headline. That's really good web design. No way. Okay, so... Thanks for the reminder while you do it. What? The 30% center call white space. Do you just browse entirely in, like, links? As a former JavaScript developer, I am both deeply respectful and deeply offended. So it looks like we've got a Win PowerShell module, and then WinDSC is the group policy DSC module. Oh, that's cool. That is, that's a lot, Rob. That is a lot. I respect the hustle, though. I do. And I'm a big VI Vim fan myself. Resource name, group policy, name, GPO, status, all settings enabled, show present. I feel like this is not enough details. Right. Okay, so this does a PowerShell DSC configuration. Create a group policy object. Okay. But okay, I feel like there's more detail here to discover, but for now, all right, we've added our groups. Let's go ahead and make that commit. And then we're going to get pull. And here we go. Invalid characters were found in group names but not replaced. What possible... Oh, no, that's in the inventory. Invalid data passed to loop. I think this might be a variable overloading. You know what I mean? I think there might be something else called groups that's messing with us. I'm trying to live the console life here rather than install Terminator and do the whole thing, but I might have to do that. Although console does have some cool tricks up its sleeve. right? I can do split view left, right. It's actually really nice. So I can have my oh, wild. So I would have to split it that way. That's different. Okay, anyway. There we go. Ansible's over here. Now what? Meanwhile, let's see how Security Onion's doing. Okay. God. Oh, okay. Improvement. So I actually think that was the problem. There's another built-in variable called groups that we were overloading here. Change false, create a false name. Scope must be set when state equals present and the group doesn't exist. So let's go back to our documentation for when domain group. Is this it? Yeah. So scope. The scope of the group is domain local, global, universal. Oh, so this is forest. It's got to be domain local should be fine for us here because we're not setting up a forest really. So domain local is what we're going to set for our scope. Yeah, I don't have to set that there. I could set that here. Scope. And that's a string, right? Scope. Yep. Domain local. Awesome. Okay. Hey, Feels. We made it past the monitor management screen. Yeah, we'll do automatic updates, whatever. Okay, this is the part that gets interesting. Enter your home networks, separating CIDR blocks with a comma. My home network that it needs to care about is 192.168.99. .0/24 and 10.1.99.0/24. We'll do the recommended settings, sure. And we're going to do Zeek for metadata and Suricata for NIDS. Emerging threat open. We're going to install the whole smash here. OS Query, Wazuh, Playbook, and Strelka. We might not use all of them, but I want them. Sorry, if my just looked like I froze, it's because I think this is where the network might mess me up. So CodePeak, thank you so much for the follow. When we set this up, yeah, crap. I think this is where security onion is going to mess with me again, even with the 2 interface, even without a jump box. So here's the problem. I did add the second NIC, Guar, but listen, my monitor interface is in the isolated network, and the management interface is in the second network. They're not on the same networks, which means, OS, like, all this stuff won't know how to communicate home to the onion. It might still work, but I think we're going to run into some problems. We might have to add another interface. Yeah. Dang it. This is what I was running into before. Yeah, it's fine. Keep the Docker IP. So, like, yeah, security onion. What? Security onion is fine. We're going to do IP access. We're going to run 192.168.99 for now. Yeah. Oh, fine. We can add extra ones later with SO allow. Is it clear why I think this is not going to work? If it's not, I'll diagram it up. Hey, the Guar, thanks so much for the sub. All right, this will install. Rerun these groups. Slappuccino, thank you so much for the follow. Okay, create domain groups isn't failing. Hey! We're getting them. See, Ansible's great when it works. Where's my refresh button? Yep, there it is. There are our groups coming in. And refresh one more time. There's Adam. And if I look in domain admins, oh, interesting. It's built-in administrators, but it's not, it doesn't say it's a member of domain admins. Wait, sorry, members. Yeah, that's weird. Hey Minerva, member of domain users. It did not make Adam a member of the domain admins group. That's interesting. Why not? Group. Adds or removes the users from this list of groups depending on the value of group's action. If add, the users added each group in groups. Oh, interesting. So we have to do group's action. Group's action. Add. All right. See? We're learning. Ugh. Here comes the installation hell of Security Onion. But yeah, let me try a quick diagram to explain why I think that this is why Security Onion once again is gonna fail for me. And if anyone has some good ideas on how to fix this problem, I'm all ears. But I really think that I'm pretty much SOL here. So here's my thinking. Can I not get rid of the central topic in Xmind? Fine. Corn? Oh, you're all ears. Got it. Sorry, took me a second. So here's Homelab. We're gonna create. This is Xmind. So we have the isolation network, and we have the Homelab network, which has access to the internet. And we'll do label of no interwebs. I can't draw at all. I'm a terrible artist. I left all of that to my friend Tim. As we were growing up, it was like we would do comics together, and he would do the drawing and I would do the writing. Okay, so isolation, Homelab. Now, we are going to set up Homelab Onion's management interface on here, right? But in isolation, I'm going to have the DC, and I'm going to have like web servers and workstations and all this stuff. And I'm also going to have the Homelab Onion monitor interface. But the problem is that this is a PCAP interface only, right? I can't send data to it. So the problem is I'm configuring the management interface on Onion to be in this Homelab network, this 192.168.99. whatever, right? And actually, it's 192.168.99.0/24. And isolation is 10.1.99.0/24. Okay. So when Security Onion goes through, and the whole point is that none shall pass, right? You cannot get from here to here. That's the whole point of the isolation network. We have a couple things that are dual homed, but that's pretty much how it goes. Now, the monitor interface cannot collect traffic, right? But all the stuff that Security Onion just set up for me is saying, hey, I'm going to listen on 192.168.99.0/24 for traffic from things like Wazuh or OS Query or anything else. That's all going to try to go to this 99.0, because what Security Onion really thinks is you don't have two networks, you have one network, but two interfaces, one for packet capture and one for management. They'll have two different IP addresses, but they should be on the same network. Because I'm doing this split, one of two things is going to happen. Either I'm able to listen on all ports for this, which maybe I can set up a third interface after the fact that will listen, or I'm SOL and Onion just like cannot listen for management traffic here, which has been my experience. Or like I can't, even if I were to set up an additional interface, right? If I were to do Homelab Onion listener on 10.1.99, I would not be able to get traffic into the right services because the services are configured only to look for the 192.168.99.0. And if I had done it the other way, if I had set up these two interfaces on 10.1.99.0, guess what? I wouldn't be able to access the management web interface, because the management web interface requires that either your hostname and your IP are exactly correct. So I can't even do like a hosts trick because it redirects to the IP address. Tailscale. That's like insane, but yeah, maybe. What I should be able to do is set up a third interface, right, on this, in this same network, to make this happen. The problem is that I don't have really easy access to all the configure. I don't have really easy access to configure the network listeners for all these services, because it's all being managed by Salt, and it's a massive pain in the ass. Well, as we'll go through it, you'll kind of see what I'm talking about here. And by the way, I have asked Security Onion specifically, like I've opened issues with them about this, and they don't have answers. They just don't have answers. Yeah, the tools hard code the management IP as well. Exactly. You can change them if you know where to look, but looking is a pain. All right, let's see if we can get Adam in the domain admins group with this extra configuration here. At least we're succeeding with Ansible. All right. The domain groups are present, so we don't have to make any changes there. Now let's see if we can add Adam to the domain admin group. Interesting. So we made the changes. And domain admins. Dang it. Is that not the name of the group? Am I getting something wrong there? No, it's definitely the name of the group. The group scope is global. That shouldn't matter. I did a refresh. Yeah. Nope, no good. Annoying, but whatever, we'll add. I really want to figure out how to do that, though. Domain admins. Let's try adding him to IT staff too, just to see if there's a difference. Pretty chill right now. If anyone has any questions about, what we're doing or, other security stuff, we can AMA this a little bit. Ansible Windows group membership, not a thing, unfortunately. Group membership is a domain, or it's local. Yeah, this is local group membership. I want... Oh, snap. There's Win Domain Group membership? That's a thing? This is one thing. I wish this were easier to search. Ansible. I want domain group membership, though. That's the one. Windows, Win Domain Group membership. All right. Well, we'll do it that way then. So rather than doing it this way, we'll add a new task here. Try to get the white space correct. Looks okay. Win Domain Group membership. Good catches, everybody. Sin and Nick, nice work. Okay, so for Win Group membership, we need members and the name. Domain admins. And then the members. No loop necessary here. Just got WMI managed object file persistent down for us. Nicely done, Husky. And thank you for the resub, friend. Congratulations on the WMI persistence. I know that's been something you've been chasing for a minute. Onion, how you doing? Taking your time. Okay. We have two methods of WMI persistence now. Interesting. Yeah, so backup plan. If this doesn't work, what are we going to do? What we're going to do is we're going to do my fallback plan, which I've used in the past, and we're going to set up elk, and we're going to do Zeke and stuff like later. Somebody's got to request it, Sin. If Onion doesn't work for me, which is going to be disappointing, but if it doesn't work for me, my fallback position is going to be to do Wazuh. So we're going to use Wazuh anyway, but here's something cool about Wazuh. The Wazuh install actually has a shortcut elk install. It will do that for you, which is super, super handy. If we go to Wazuh server, yeah, let's go to all-in-one for Wazuh. Featherlos, thank you so much for the follow. Let's do step by step, because we're going to be there. We don't need to be unattended. Or no, let's try unattended. Let's see what you got for me. Can I close some of these? Probably. Yeah, elk via Docker's a lot. Oh yeah, so there's like literally a one-liner if you want to fire this off to set up Wazuh, which will set up, look at this. It sets up all of this for you, and you can kind of just get up and running in one move. Now, that being said, then you have to like set up your interfaces the way that you want, and you might have to do extra configuration for these things. But honestly, not terrible. And I actually have this. This is how my lab works at work, where rather than messing around with security on it, I just said, screw it. I got Elk up and running with Wazuh and then use some customizations on the Wazuh alerts to get stuff showing up. One thing I love about Wazuh is that it has, built-in support for things like sysmon and other Windows event logs. So with one move, you've got Windows event log reporting. It'll also do, Linux command line stuff as well. So it's kind of a great log collector. And since it's going to get you the, and Wazuh's own modification to Elk, I should say, is actually rad. So what it will do is, obviously it's getting the logs in, but it also has its own dashboard for Elk that has alerts tied to MITRE ATT&CK. So you can actually, once you've got the alerting set up, you'll be able to see in the Wazuh interface anything sus coming in and see it tied to MITRE ATT&CK, which is pretty rad. The more that I'm talking about this, I'm trying to remember why I decided to go with Security Onion. And I think it's because everybody else wants to use Security Onion, and I wanted to give it another shot. Okay, so members, we need, it's like, just bar. How is that possible? Is it an integration option via Kibana? Yes. Yes. I think that's correct. Oh, that's how that goes. Are you? All right. We'll give Onion a shot here, but I have figured out Wazuh a little bit deeper, and I think, the Guar, I know why. If you're using Security Onion, I bet I know why. You talk to me offline. We can discuss it further if you want. Because I ran into that a bunch, and I'm pretty sure you're running into what I ran into, which is that the configs for Wazuh with Security Onion are expecting management interface stuff that hasn't been set up correctly. And so it's trying to hit your management port on Onion, and it's not seeing the Wazuh API service. All reasons why I decided to not use Onion at the end of the day. All right, so if I'm reading this correctly, pretty much we can just do like members and then a Minerva. Yeah. All right, let's give that a shot. Oh, dang it. Change this name up. Okay. I don't know how anyone is expected to do this unless you had training as a system administrator, by the way. Like, I know that they tell people if you're getting into InfoSec, like, oh, set up your own lab. Freaking how? Like, you have to be very experienced with system administration in order to pull this off. This is not entry-level stuff. I'll add that to my list of complaints about how the industry makes it very difficult for people to get started. For like no reason. I think that if an organization wants these skills in-house, they need to have a training pipeline set up. It's almost like someone needs to help beginners get boosted into Linux terminal technology. Yeah, it's almost like that. And if only someone was doing that. I will say that I'm actually pretty proud of the Hack Summer stuff we did this summer as well. So if you go onto YouTube, actually, hacksummer.org will take you to some resources as well. But if you go to the YouTube channel, and also, Rob, you've got stuff going on as well. But yeah, we've got, we did a whole series on getting started with Linux. Hey, domain group memberships did something. So let's see, do a quick refresh here. There we go. All right, so that's how we're going to do that. That is very cool. That is very cool. Yeah, there's a lot to do. There's a lot to do. Yeah. Ansible. There's a task for that, I guess. Wow. That's really great. That's really great. Let's build that out a little bit more then. So we can say name. Maybe so call this domain admins, right? And then I'm trying to think if there's a clever way to do this. I think there is. So if we, for the domain groups, we're just looping through the name to create it, but we can add additional data. So we could say like, yeah, here we go. This is how we're going to do this. Marketing. I think we want and actually Adam Minerva is also part of the IT staff, right? And Jane Ponerson is in marketing. We need a couple more things, a couple more users, but I'm curious how this errors out, actually. So what I'm thinking is I want to populate the other user groups, and the way that I want to do it is like this. Populate domain groups, and we're going to say no. So name is going to be item.name, and the members is actually going to be item.members. I wonder if we do put that in quotes because it's a list. Maybe we do it like that. Let me look that up. Security Onion taking forever and a day. I'm thinking through the problems I know I'm now going to run into again. Time to start adding subscriber names. Maybe that's a great idea. Why didn't I think of that? Incredible. All right, well, obviously. And, oh, I get to show off something that I made that no one cares about. Yeah, we'll use my passphrase generator. Love it. Flipix won't be a domain admin at this point. VS Code is a copy selected line below shortcut. What is it? Because that, yeah, I would love that. Copy line down. Control Alt Shift down arrow. Neat. So, Control Alt Shift down. Oh, Control C and then it not working. That worked. Yeah, it was that. Control Shift Alt down arrow. But weirdly, it didn't actually do it. I mean, that doesn't matter that much. Braces Fuji. Fun. Okay, so we're going to add some folks here. But why? Yeah, Shift Alt arrow. I mean, I could probably do the same thing by getting my Vim bindings going. So we're going to do members of accounting. At least it's not Emacs. That's right. And good. Footpix has the power to fire you. Okay. Now, let's see. Oh, right. We were looking up how loops work. Iterating over a dictionary. Loop. Dict 2 items. We kind of already had that, though. Because, like, it was working already. Oh, key value. I see. You can register out of the loop as a variable. Nope. I want to know when to quote them and when not to. It kind of seems like always. Yeah. Okay. All right, we're going to give this a shot then. So it'll be... members is going to be item.members. Every time. All right, that didn't work. That appears to be an indentation problem, though. Ah, for the love of God. Oh, we weren't finished anyway. Because we need to add the loop on here, don't we? Yep. Loop. And the loop is going to be... rainbow indentation YAML formatter. Okay. Let's see if this works. Wait. Am I crazy or did that not... It appears as though create domain groups took the... Yeah, it's working. But look, it like says... It looks like create domain groups took the information from populate. Wait. Unless... No, 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 no. Okay. I think I see what I'm seeing. Okay. It didn't actually use the members here. It only used the name. It just said create domain groups, but then we populated it here. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. I was like, that's interesting. So it shows you the whole item that it's iterating through in the loop, but it doesn't actually necessarily use it. So that's cool. We populated it with this data. So if that worked, go ahead and refresh this. All right, let's look at HR here. That worked. That worked perfectly. All right, well, that's how we do that. That's exciting. All right, now we know how to create domain users and groups. I mean, the other stuff that we would care about is stuff like, you know, group policy, to allow local, you know, remote management, things like that. That might be something fun to do. But I got to figure out how to do that through Ansible. But this is a great first step. Yeah, that's really neat. Okay. And again, this playbook is now available. You can, that latest push is available for you if you want to play with it yourself. Let's see how we're doing here on the Wazuh. Okay. Oh, wait, it's still using the Hive? Timeout. I would like to kill this. Roll the playbook into a CI system that auto-deploys. So that's exactly what I want to do eventually, GoPro. I want Terraform to bring up the machine and then run, set up SSH and then run Ansible on either the server, or you can run Ansible in pull mode if you want to. Yeah, I think I've had it with Security Onion here. I think we're going to knock this off. Yeah, I think we're gonna roll this back, because this is killing me. But also, like, we know it's not going to do what we want it to do. You know? So, thank you for snapshots. We're going to do the rollback here. Can I rename these? I can rename them. Oh. Why did I call it onion if I'm not doing onion anymore? I do think I still like Tmux better. I'll bring that up at some point. Are we rolled back? We are rolled back. And we're on. God, Proxmox. Killing it. Okay, well, let's fix the, onion here. Oh, I have to change it in host name too. That was dumb. You had nothing but pain with Proxmox? I mean, I don't know, but it has been honestly so much nicer than working with VMware for me. Have to reboot it. There we go. Okay. Let's give this a shot. Why isn't anyone considering VirtualBox? Just a guy, VirtualBox is great until you come up against requirements like speed and scale. So VirtualBox, like I'm not going to run VirtualBox on a server the way that I'm doing, because it is the virtualization, or Oracle's lawyers. Yeah, like it's not going to have the performance I need. Whereas, you know, if you wanted to go raw KVM, you could do that. But that's what Proxmox is doing anyway, right? It's got a QEMU underneath of it, and it's screaming fast. The same thing with Hyper-V if you're on a Windows system. Hyper-V has some other fun limitations like licensing and management can be a pain. But yeah, so we're going to give this a shot. You'd have to use something like Vagrant on top of VBAX. Well, we'd have to use, we're trying to use Packer or Terraform. Like, you'd have to use something like that to get your VMs up programmatically anyway, regardless of whether you're using VirtualBox or not. Vagrant is a weird intermediary, honestly, between the VM template and the configuration at scale that you could do with Terraform. And the reason that I've been avoiding Vagrant is because Vagrant makes a bunch of assumptions about your VM setup, like having the Vagrant user, that I don't want in my environment. That's why I haven't touched it for any of this. Okay, so we're back to where we actually have our good config. Yeah, I think we're ready to go here. So we're just going to run this. One line install for Wazuh and Elk. And then we can just get the Wazuh agent and toss it with the right config onto anything that we want. I know we're running a little long today, but I want to give it a shot. I need to learn to trust my instincts and not trust. Like, when tools tell you how they work, believe them the first time. Kind of like when people tell you who they are, believe them the first time. All right, so we've got domain admins. Let's bring up a workstation. So we'll do create VM. And we'll call it seclab WinWS1 OS. Good. Now this is the kind of stuff that, like, yeah, it would be cool if we could automate it with Packer. Unfortunately, we're just not there yet. Oh no, I have not uploaded the desktop ISO yet, so let's go do that. Hey Keys, yeah, Wazuh is great. I'm a huge fan. I think I have a recent-ish Windows. Oh, not there though. I have to get at it from my actual computer. Yeah, I know I don't. Okay, good. Let's go to here, ISO, upload. Wow, do I not have a desktop install? All right, well, let's go get it then. And what we'll do, we'll actually do the cool thing. So, Windows eval. Yeah, I don't want to do Windows 11 just yet. We'll do the ISO here. All this. Fine, fine, fine. There's my... Yeah, crap. I should not have done that on stream. .64-bit. English. Okay, copy link. Here we go. So here, what we're going to do is we're going to do a download from URL. Win10 enterprise.iso. We're setting up a Homelab B4R, or bar. Hey, Smithy, thank you so much for the resub, if I didn't say so. So we're getting just the Windows eval ISO down and installed. So we can use that as a base. Meanwhile, yep, job's there. And how is the Wazuh installation going? Fast. Look, FileBeat's already up and running. Wazuh and Kavada's going. You used Proxmox for your Homelab before, but it's a pain to connect Linux GUI machines. I don't think that it is. I'm not sure how you have it set up, but like the machine I'm currently looking at is actually running on the Proxmox machine. And all I did was install XRDP and call it a day. Elasticsearch keys. Time Traveler, we are creating a Homelab that has security monitoring in it, so we can do, you know, pen testing and malware analysis and stuff like that inside of a controlled lab. You try installing RDP and connect using RDC, man. Don't do that. Yeah, so just install XRDP on the machine for Linux, and then you can use Ramina on if you're all Linux, right? You can use Ramina, or you can use KRDC if you're on a KDE machine. And it's like, look, this is KRDC running right here, and I love KRDC. It's my favorite remote desktop client because it's not X-free RDP, XRDP. Because it will allow you to save a list of sessions over here, which is really, really handy. Lots of good configurations. I was even able to use KRDC. Jonathan1988, thank you for the follow. I even used KRDC to manage a fleet of about 200 Macs at scale with remote desktop rather than using Apple Remote Desktop. That's how much I liked it. And it does VNC as well if you want to. Now, does that come with a KDE? I don't think it comes with it, but you can install it real fast. Yeah, Wazuh has great documentation. We're already going faster here than we did with Onion. It's done! It's done! So we're going to save this stuff. Super secure here. But for now, are the storage requirements similar to Shallot? I think it's actually lower, but like it's your log retention is your limiter there. Yeah, let's try to get to this. Are you kidding me? Up in under 15 minutes. And we'll log in with the Kibana user, I think is correct. We can add users later. Or is it Kibanaro? That's Kibana read only. I just forget which one of these it wants me to log in with. That seems to have worked. So let's take a look at what we have set up for ourselves already, which, by the way, just so good. Let's snapshot this because just incredible. Let's do options. It's no longer called SecLab Onion. We'll change that. SecLab Sock. First things first, Kibana dark mode. You know what? Yeah. Notice that it's taking me directly to the Wazuh interface. We have to add an agent, which we will. And it actually has a nice link to how to do that. Hamburger stack management. Thank you. Look at this. Okay, this is so fun. Stack management. Yeah, thank you. Advanced settings. Okay, we're safe. So Kafka, Kibana, if we talk about the elk stack, if you ever hear the elk stack referred to, there's three things in it: Elasticsearch, Logstash, and Kibana. So Kibana is the search layer. It's the thing really that we're interfacing with here. And what we're searching over is an Elasticsearch database that is populated and parsed by Logstash. That makes sense? And if I got something wrong in that explanation, I'm sure GoPro or Husky's gonna help me out there. Are we dead set on Logstash? No, sir, we are not. In fact, we're gonna use the Wazuh agent to do most of our work here. So what you're going to see, Husky, is that for most of what we need, we don't need log beats and file beats because Wazuh is going to do it for us. Check this out. So if we add an agent, Let's deploy a new agent. So it's Windows. God, this is so good. The Wazuh server address is going to be 10.1.99.4. And we can create groups if we want, but for now, default. And look, it gives us a command to actually hit this. So let's go ahead and go over to the domain controller and just fire this off. And assuming that I can hit both interfaces, yes, yes, it's so easy. Now, one thing we will have to do is change up the config for Wazuh, which we will do right now. Yep, there's OSSec. The Wazuh service is starting. Hell yes. Actually, we don't. We're actually good right now because we don't have sysmon installed. Once we have sysmon installed, then we would have to do the configuration for Wazuh. But right now, let's go back. Would you look at that? And what are we getting from it? Look at this dashboard. We've got MITRE. We've got MITRE right out of the box. We're seeing compliance for PCI DSS, GDPR, NIST 800, HIPAA. Thank you very much. So we're getting default Windows. I think by default, we're getting application system and security. And if you want to see it, we can go to security events. Right? So already we're starting to see data come in. And here comes some alerts. But of course, I'm inside of the Wazuh. I'm inside of the Wazuh interface, right? If I wanted to look at raw Kibana, I could do that. If I go to Discover, right, you can see that the raw is coming in just fine. Right. And so we can parse this however we want. We say agent.id or agent.name. What indices do we get out of the box? It's a good question. This is killing my jump box. Let me cancel here. What you got for me? There you go. We've got Wazuh alerts, monitoring, and statistics out of the box. Yeah. Sorry, I went to Splunk. Wazuh alerts, monitoring, and statistics out of the box. So really, really clean. Of course, we can add others if we wanted to, but there's so much that comes in here. Let's clean this up a little bit. you can see that it's data Windows event ID. So if we just look for event ID, right? Let's, oh, I can't filter for meta fields in this view here. Yeah, so the next level, exactly, Husky, is I haven't set up Zeek or Rita or anything else like that. But what's cool is now I have full control of the machine. Salt isn't doing anything, which was the whole problem with Security Onion. So I can add an extra interface to the isolated network and just have it do whatever I want it to do on that network and collect the data and configure it to go in through Elk the way that I want. This is why I didn't do Onion the 5 other times I've tried to set this lab up, because I want more control than Onion's going to give me. So even though the title of this stream was Security Onion, it turns out we're not, in fact, using Security Onion. We're going to avoid it because it just does not do what I want it to do. And I'm tired of fighting with it. That's like the entire story of this lab build out, is the tools you're supposed to use I'm not doing because it's way too much trouble. Yeah, we'll throw up web server in the DMZ, hook up file beats. So, yes. Also, Husky, guess what? You don't, once again, we're going to use Wazuh, because you can get Wazuh to actually pull in HTTP logs as well. One agent to pull every log you want. Think of it like the Splunk Universal Forwarder. All you have to do is edit the config for the Wazuh agent, which looks like this. Is it in program files? OSSec agent. And then it's ossec.conf, which we'll open with Notepad, just so you can see it. It's just XML. So in fact, when I'm ready, no, don't do that. Yeah, so when I'm ready to do sysmon on here, in fact, I want to deploy sysmon programmatically, so we'll do that in a second. But actually, when I'm ready to do sysmon, it'll look like this. So local file, the location is not sysmon, or it's not system. It'll be, right, Microsoft, Windows, sysmon, operational. And that's it. I'm done. Then it'll know to pick up sysmon and pull it in. I can also do, like, if I wanted to do IIS logs, I could do it that way too. It'll still come in this way. Now, I might have to do some work to parse them on the other side if it's not a known file type. But one agent to do your log collections rather than doing file beats for everything. Forget that. This is why I'm so up on Wazuh here, because it does all of this for me and has a great alerting interface as well. All right, so I think, friends, that we're going to call it there for today. It's been a long stream, but we've ended with a SOC up and running. Our domain controller has the Wazuh agent. Next time, we'll start to build out our Windows workstation. We'll start to populate our groups, do some cool stuff, and really start digging into how to get the logging and the alerting going inside of the SOC now that we have it up and running. So, friends, as always, thank you so much for hanging out. I hope you learned something. I know that I did. And let's see, who is streaming right now? GoPro usually has an eye on this stuff, but if you don't know about the hack list, here it is. Kafka, yes, all of our stuff is restreamed to YouTube. But we are Legion, the InfoSec streamers, and so let's send you over to Luca. She's always up to something cool. All right. All right, friends. Until next time, thank you so much for watching. Be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and happy hacking. We'll see you next time.